Welcome to Ports and Palaces podcast. It is April 1st, and today's episode covers the top 10 tips for your next Disney World trip.
Good morning, everyone. Happy April Fool's Day. I hope you guys are having a great, fun day. So like Chad said, we are heading into the summer season and it's peak travel time. So we thought this would be a great time to go over the top tips to help you navigate Disney World like a pro. Tip number 1 is to book early and plan to stay on property. There have been so many changes in the past year or two on property perks that staying on property has become a huge asset in your vacation. A lot of people think, oh, it's more expensive. I'm just going to stay off property. And then when we really look at the value of staying on property, it becomes almost neck and neck in cost. In addition, so if you book when rates come out, those are typically the lowest, so they're the best value. And then you're able to make payments on that. And then also if promotions come out closer to your trip, you can add those promotions in, and that makes the price very manageable. I have a lot of clients that stay, at All-Star or things like that end up being cheaper than if they stayed off property somewhere else. And so that's something to really think about. Some people think, oh, I'll just wait till a promotion comes out. But if you book at that low price further out and then add the promotion later, it really does help you out.
100% agree. 100%. She's had, I'll keep it short, but she's had a couple of people try to book a month out in advance, and it's just crazy how expensive it is a month out. So there's so many perks to staying on property now. Booking lightning lane options 4 days earlier than off property and annual pass guests is huge. For most guests, you can book your entire trip at that 7-day mark. When you stay on property, you're able to secure a package with a $200 deposit and make payments up to 30 days out, which is great for planning ahead on your trip for special activities that you want to do. You also get priority dining reservations. You can book your entire trip at the 60-day mark instead of just day by day, 60 days out. You also get early entry to the parks. So this in particular is 30 minutes earlier than people that are staying off property coming to the parks for the day. You also get extended evening hours for deluxe guests. A lot can be done in 2 hours, but do realize that Animal Kingdom still does close pretty early compared to the other parks. There is also complimentary parking at resorts, which is a nice little perk, so you don't have to fight the traffic of general parking.
Mm-hmm. I think if you were to drill it down to just an overview, it'd be staying on property saves you time and money, but you've got your lightning lanes that you can book at 7 days out versus 4 or versus 3. That makes it where you can book those lightning lanes at an earlier time. It really helps with that. Saving money and the fact that you can book that package with a $200 deposit and then make payments versus if you're doing a tickets only, you have to pay it in full right then. The priority dining reservations, that to me is just a huge perk because you can book your entire trip at that 60-day mark instead of each day. So, people that are off property have to wake up at that 6 a.m. Eastern time every day of their trip, 60 days out, whereas that on-property guest is getting the whole gamut of their trip and able to book some of those harder to get times at the end of their trip to make it where they're getting those times in, whereas everyone else is having to just wait until those 60 days out. Early entry and extended evening hours speak for themselves, less people in the parks and more to get done. And then just pricing wise, if you're staying off property, you might be bringing a car or you might be renting a car and thinking, oh, I'm saving money that way. But then you're paying each time you're going to the park or you're paying each time you're visiting a resort. And that adds up. And also just the fact that Magic Kingdom has the ticket and transportation center. So you have to park in the parking lot and then take the monorail to Magic Kingdom. That's just... or the ferry if you so desire. But that's just a whole extra bit of time that maybe people aren't prepared for and really starts their day stressful. Another savings cost is the Magical Extra savings. This is something that Disney usually releases every year, but they keep it kind of quiet. But you get certain percentages off of different restaurants or specialty shops, things like that. You do get some percentages off if you show that you're an on-property guest. And then they usually also do like miniature golf, things like that. Like you can go kind of enjoy those things for free as an on-property guest. And then a huge thing for 2025 has been that you get that water park day on check-in. Like that's been a huge thing. I know a lot of clients are really enjoying that. Tip number 2 is to understand your booking windows and what to book. So we kind of mentioned that just above, but you really want to know when those windows are and also what time they open. There are different times for different things. And you really want to be pre-planning just a little bit. I know a lot of people say, oh, Disney World is just so stressful now. You have to pre-plan everything. But just a little bit of pre-planning on these things will make those trips a lot seamless and less stressful when you're actually in them. So really pay attention to when your dining window opens. And that would be different if you're on property versus off. And then same thing with lightning lanes. Really watch those. Dining opens at 60 days out, and popular restaurants and time slots will sell out within seconds. We know this. I'm in these systems constantly.
Oh, yeah.
And you really want to have a plan for what those restaurants are that are booking so quickly and do those early. And if you are on property, potentially doing those later in your trip to try to maximize that time. The same idea applies to lightning lanes. If you're doing your research on what lightning lanes are selling out early, then you're going to know to book those first, to maybe book those at the later end of your trip to be able to maximize that. And then having an overall plan for your actual park days and what you want to book next and things like that. Just a little bit of planning really does help in these areas.
I really think personally this is a great asset when using a travel agent. Coming from an outside's perspective, booking dining and lightning lanes seems to be the most stressful part for guests, especially newcomers.
Yeah, like first-time guests.
Yeah. We're not kidding. A lot of the reservations go pretty quickly, even for the people that get to choose their reservations 60 days out. We've had situations where we could start booking our reservations at 3 o'clock in the morning, and we took the advantage of favoriting or having each of the reservations we wanted open in different tabs on multiple devices.
Yeah, that's a good tip.
That is a huge thing.
Multiple people, multiple tabs, multiple devices.
Yeah.
If you can divide and conquer, that's really helpful. Have some people focusing on some restaurants, the really quick people maybe focusing on those harder to get, the other people focusing on the ones you're not as nervous about not getting.
No, that's another thing. You got to make sure you are all connected to each other in the same party, or else the reservation, if you don't have certain people in your party registered to that reservation, they cannot come with you.
Yeah, so that comes into play more with lightning lanes. If you're not linked together, it doesn't realize you're trying to book the lightning lanes for your party. So you really want to make sure everyone's linked together as family and friends. Dining doesn't matter as much. Just one person can say they're getting a reservation for 6 or 8 or whatever people. They don't really ask how many people or who those people are. In some instances, it's actually better not to hash mark each person, because if that other person in your party is trying to book maybe a similar time, so you guys have some options, if you try to link together, it actually could cause problems that you can't book those two similar times. For instance, when we went on our last huge family trip, we wanted some options for Ohana because we weren't really sure what dinner time we wanted. And so I was booking for like 6:30. My mom was booking for like 7:30. And Chad was thinking like, okay, what if we have a huge midday break? What if we want more like an 8 o'clock dinner? And if we had all been linked up at that time or trying to link up, it wouldn't have let us make that many reservations. So that's, again, where kind of a good travel agent or someone that just is in these systems a lot, doesn't have to be a travel agent, but just someone that's using these systems a lot that understands how to maximize them and how to utilize them well. Speaking of maximizing time, the next 4 tips are all kind of under that umbrella of maximizing your time. So these 4 tips are having a rope drop plan, utilizing mobile ordering, taking a midday break, and taking advantage of rider switch and single rider.
Tip number 3, having a rope drop plan. So historically, from trips we've been on, the early hours of park days have the lowest crowds during the day. People are often trying to rush to or are in line for the high traffic or high volume rides, kind of like Remy's or...
Yeah, or you have the people that are like, I didn't want to plan, and so they say, Magic Kingdom opens at 9, and so they don't like get into the parking lot until 9, and then it takes them an hour and a half to get actually on their first attraction. So this is where having that plan and knowing you want to be on your first ride at 9 o'clock or 8:30 if you have early entry, that really puts you ahead of the pack who didn't take that into account and is still in the parking lot.
Right. For starters, you want to plan to be inside the park at least 45 minutes prior to park opening, even earlier if you were there for early entry. And you want to also have a game plan of what rides and attractions you really want to hit first in a fairly sequential order.
Yeah.
Especially rides that tend to break down a lot. So it happens less often now because of some of the changes, to some of the general changes to the animatronics, specifically with Star Wars Rise of the Resistance. I know at Disney World it's been a big issue where animatronics will sometimes break down and then it's out for most of the day, then they repair it, then it's down again. We don't really see that kind of problem at Disneyland, funny enough, but with Disney World specifically, yes. Please try to hit all of the high value rides that break down a lot, specifically Rise of the Resistance. What's another one, Kirsten, breaks down a lot?
Well, right now, Tiana's has been breaking down all the time and is down for like the whole day.
The lines are so long for that too, especially if you don't have a lightning lane.
Yeah. My recommendation for people who maybe don't want to do just minute by minute plans, just try to have a really tight or tight-ish morning plan, kind of know where you're headed first, where you want to go next. Try to keep your morning as tight as possible because that's going to be where things kind of seem to go right the most, but also know how to pivot. So for instance, if a ride is down, okay, Space Mountain's down, we're going to go do this ride instead, or really trying to have that flexibility in there. But we have found that when we're on Disney World property, our mornings go pretty much to plan. Like we pretty much know we're going to do this in the morning. And then it's that afternoon time where we're a little more flexible. But that early entry or that park opening rope drop plan is really where you want to be as tight as you can.
This is another area where having a travel agent helps people a lot. Agents, if you have a good one, are typically in the parks a lot using the My Disney Experience app. That's the app that you'll use throughout the park.
Yeah, My Disney Experience is its official name, but Disney World app is what most people just call it. I think truly having a rope drop plan is like a whole full podcast all on its own. So stay tuned for next week because I think we're going to go through each park and the rope drop plan for if you were using lightning lanes or not, and if you're in early entry or not, because this one tip alone is so complex that it deserves its own podcast. Another way that we can save time is by utilizing mobile ordering. So this is a time-saving tip that is really underutilized and, dare I say, not used well. Many quick service restaurants on property, this is not just in parks, but also resorts, they use mobile ordering. So if you're heading to a certain part of the park and or you have a game plan to be in a certain park at a certain point. So for instance, if you have a lightning lane for Soarin' around lunchtime, my recommendation is to put in a mobile order around that time, but do it in the morning. So that way you can know you have food waiting for you after you get off Soarin', you're ready to go, or even before Soarin' in case Soarin' goes down, but kind of pre-gaming that mobile ordering. And then what you would do to really save time, not only by not standing in lines because you're mobile ordering, but when you're close to that restaurant, that is when you want to click I'm here, because it actually can be another 10, 15 minutes before your food is actually ready. When you click I'm here, they're preparing the food. So once you are in range on Bluetooth, like just click I'm here, and then that way they can start preparing. And then in 15 minutes, when you're actually in the restaurant, your order's ready, you go get your food. This is so important, I think, when you're really trying to maximize your time in the parks. And a lot of people think, oh, well, no, I don't quite know where I'm going to be. Like, your family, when you're going to be hungry in the day. And you probably have an idea of where you want to eat, or at least the restaurant you're looking at eating. So just kind of use that for what you will. I think it's underutilized. And also some people say, oh, I want a mobile order, but they're already in the restaurant. And then they're putting in their order, Well, now you're just adding time because it's usually not going to give you an instantaneous mobile order time. It's going to give you, 10, 15 minutes out plus another 10 or 15 minutes to make your order once you say I'm here. So my side tip there is don't place that mobile order when you're actually in the quick service spot. You're actually going to lose time. You may as well just hop in the line at that point. So mobile ordering, very important if you want to really utilize your time well.
Tip number 5, taking a midday break. So it may not even be midday. You could make it a morning break if you wanted to go eat some breakfast, then go hang out at the pool.
Do your rope drop and then be done in the morning.
Yeah, go do your rope drop, first lightning lanes in the morning, then go get a nice big hearty breakfast, and then go hang out back at the resorts. All that to say, the tip is to take a break. You're paying all this money to stay at the resort of your choice. There's so many cool amenities, especially from our experience. We really loved Caribbean Beach.
That's one of our favorite resorts.
Not only because of the little hidden away eateries. They're not big. It's just like a little stop in the middle of the walking areas. People can sit down and have a lunch or whatever. But there's also Caribbean Beach specifically has really nice pools with slides that are built into big rock structures and stuff like that. I thought that was really cool. And it's all sectioned off. Like there's specifically a pool that's a kiddie pool, and then there's a section exactly, there's splash pad and everything, and the big bucket on top that fills up and then splashes everywhere. So that's very fun and interactive for the kids and safe. And
I think something that people don't think about when they talk about Disney World is you are staying at a resort. Like it's not just a hotel. It's not the Holiday Inn. Like you're staying at a well-themed resort. If you're staying at a moderate or a deluxe, it usually has multiple pools. One of those pools is going to have a water slide attached to it, not multiple water slides. Like you're staying at a resort, and really you're paying a premium price for that resort. So some people say, "Oh no, I'm going for the parks." Well, even if you're staying at a value resort, you're paying a resort cost, and so you're kind of losing money by not taking advantage of those resort amenities at least 1 or 2 days of your park days.
Another item to consider is the heat in Florida. It is most intense in the afternoon, closer to, I'd say, 2, 3 o'clock is the worst of it.
Yeah, like 1 to 3, 2 to 4, kind of depends on when you're going, but around those times.
But yeah, it's most intense in the afternoon. The concrete heavy parks can really feel hotter than the already brutal heat because the concrete likes to absorb the heat.
Kind of getting at both directions at that point.
Right. And the way how Florida is humid for most of the year, that humidity just reverberates off of the heat of the concrete. So, but yeah, when the sun is especially 12 o'clock high beating down on you, it can be pretty brutal, as a lot of people know. I would recommend bringing one of those dry magic towels. If you don't know what I'm talking about, it's one of these towels that you take out of a container and then soak in water, and then it absorbs it. But what's cool about them is they will almost fully absorb the water, and then you can just wrap them around.
Like freeze them.
Like your neck or your head or what have you. But they won't turn you into a watery mess. It's just nice and cool. But you do have to put them in the freezer for that to work properly. But that's just a really cool tool that you can take to the parks. Don't forget, there are freak rainstorms in Florida a lot of the time. Usually
in the afternoons.
Yeah. Coastal storms happen a lot in Florida, and they're always very isolated and out of nowhere. So it is absolutely essential to purchase plastic rain ponchos. Easy to slip on. Usually they're bulky enough, so even if you're wearing a backpack, you don't have to take your backpack off. You can just wear the poncho over your backpack, which is nice.
One of the last reasons you want to take a break is that crowds are usually the highest in like the early to mid afternoons of the park. So kind of what we talked about with that early morning or that rope drop entry plan, people don't quite take into account that the park opens at a certain time, but you can get into the park well before that. That's just the first moment that you can get on a ride. And so a lot of those people that didn't realize that, they didn't plan about that, they're getting into the park around that 10:30, 11 o'clock hour. And now there's just swarms of people in the park. So by taking a midday break, you're actually kind of taking some of the stress of those high crowd areas because you got in the park early. Now you're hopping out of the park when all those other people are in the park. And then you can go back into the park when those people are now very frustrated and, you know, their plans are not going well. And they're going to be like, we're done for the day. The kids are tired. We need some food. And you're hopping back into the park when those crowds are kind of dispersing a little bit. So you really are saving time and money by taking that midday break. Now, something to think about though here, we are kind of talking a lot about, you know, going back to your resort, things like that. Now, we've been kind of talking a lot about on-property guests, you know, hopping back to your resort, go do this. That is a lot harder if you're staying off property. I don't really recommend leaving property for a midday break if you're not staying at a Disney World operated resort. But that doesn't mean you have to stay in the park all day. You can go to another resort that, you know, you don't have to stay at a resort to go check it out. You can go check one out, have a quick service lunch, check out the resort property. You could stay in the park, but have a really nice long lunch. Or if you're really wanting to stay in the park, focus on shows for the afternoon. There are some ways to kind of take a break and not be so ride focused during the afternoon. We sometimes find that this is actually a little easier for us. We do like going back to our resort, but sometimes we know like, hey, we're getting tired. It's the end of our trip. And if we go back to our resort, we're not coming back. And so we will actually do this instead. We'll stay on the park, you know, wherever we're at that day, but we'll have a really nice long lunch, or we'll do more kind of long leisure shows. And just that way we know we're in the park, we're going to be there the full day, but we're enjoying our time and not rushing to rides. And the last tip for saving time or maximizing time is to use rider switch or single rider. These are components of a trip that you may not even know are there until you talk to a cast member. So if you have someone in your travel party that can't or won't ride an attraction and other people do want to ride, you can set up something called rider switch with a cast member. It allows the first group of people to go ahead and stand in the standby line while someone stays out of the line with the person that doesn't want to ride. And then once those people are done riding, you can come back out, and then this person that waited can go with one of the other people in the line. So that person gets to go twice. And they go through the lightning lane. So you're not waiting through that line twice. That is super helpful if you're not looking at lightning lanes, to try to use rider switch wherever you can. And then there are some rides in Disney World property that utilize single rider, and this is a huge way to cut time. So if you have a lot of adults or older kids in your party and you don't mind splitting up and not riding together, you can go through single rider, and these lines go very quickly because they're having to fill the ride vehicles to full capacity. And so they're trying to put, you know, one person here, two people here. And so that is a good way to try to go through a line quickly if you're okay with not riding together. Alrighty, tip number 7 is be savvy with your spending. So we all know that money can add up in Disney World. So we rounded up some spending and saving tips for a little bit of a lightning round. We're going to go quick on this one.
Water, one word. Bring a reusable water bottle and ask for free ice at quick service spots. The water is not that bad and will taste delicious when you're hot and sweaty. If you are particular about how your water tastes, bring some mix or something.
Yeah, it's cold. It's great. You're not going to care when you're on property. Moving on. So speaking of being cheap pre-buy some of those souvenirs. So think bubble wands, glow sticks, anything that your kids are going to want to buy that you maybe don't want to spend the $30, $40 on, pre-buy some of those things.
We kind of already talked about this, but just to reiterate, buy the cheap plastic ponchos from Amazon. If you don't need them, great. But if you do, it's better to have them and not need them. Make sure they're not slim fitting. Make sure they're bulky, can reach around your backpack or what have you.
Yeah, and the reason this one's on this section is because the ponchos at the park are crazy expensive. Don't waste your money on them. Next up is don't buy sunscreen or first aid in the park. Please bring that stuff with you. You're going to want it, but if you did happen to, leave some stuff at home, they have first aid stations or baby care centers in the park. And while I don't recommend going and getting sunscreen every single day in the first aid station, if you are having an emergency, they are happy to help you there.
Bring in packs of snacks to help curb appetites between meals. We know from personal experience, having a kid, buying snacks around the parks gets very expensive very quickly for finger foods or, stopping at booths and stuff like that. Now, if you're particularly wanting to stop at a booth for a specialty thing, go for it. But we're talking about don't buy a bag of chips for $5 more than you would normally pay just walking around town. Just because it's Disney World.
Yeah, it also helps with kind of keeping you full in between those meals because meals are expensive. You want to try to maximize whatever you're buying at those meals. And so you don't want to snack on expensive snacks while you're getting to your meals. And then speaking of meals, share those meals. So if you are not getting a prefix meal with a prefix price, share items. Especially my biggest tip is kids' meals are pretty big portions. So if you have a nice breakfast or a nice dinner and you just need something quick during the mid-afternoon, share a meal. It's so much cheaper and helpful.
I just wanted to add this, and you can tell me now. And it does sound like a little bit of cheating, but if you go to a Disney park restaurant that does buffet, you have a kid, share the plate with your kid, and then go back and get
yes, that is
share
cheating.
of your own, and then
so
and then just have the other parent have their plate.
Yeah, so buffet that doesn't quite work that way. If the child is above 3, so starting on their 3rd birthday, they will count in the total. Now, if you have a child that is 35 months, not quite 3 yet, they don't cost. So that is something that is a huge saving tips. If you have young kids and you're thinking about going to Disney World, until they're 3, they are free. So utilize that. I know when our daughter turned 3, all of a sudden we realized how expensive it was to take her, and it was almost double the cost. So little side tip there. But moving on.
The next 3 tips are all about making magical memories. 3 tips are utilizing Memory Maker, not over planning, and finding the magic.
Yeah. So tip number 8 is utilizing Memory Maker. So there are professional photographers in the park that is their job to be staked at prime photo locations and taking pictures of you at those locations. So skip the camera. I know I am a travel agent. I am in the parks all the time, but even still I get so excited and I'm trying to take pictures and videos and they come out real wobbly, or I'm just thinking about this that I don't think to actually hop in the picture myself. So just skip the camera, let them take the photo instead. They are stationed at these spots day in and day out and know the best angles and shots to take. So utilize that. Use those people. Now, you can use the photographers and not get Memory Maker, but if you want to use them, either you're going to have to ask them to use your own camera, and I will say from experience, they're not as stable, I guess I'm going to say, with the cameras that aren't theirs, so it may not be as beautiful of a picture. But then also, if you decide retroactively, we took 5 really good pictures, those pictures cost at least $14.95 per photo to download. So it adds up very quickly. Memory Maker, if you buy this pre-trip, that is $185. Yes, it's $185 added to your cost. You're like, I don't want this, but I will tell you right now, I have a lot of clients and not one of them has walked away without buying Memory Maker. But a lot tell me before the trip, no, we don't need it. We don't want it. It's okay. And they always come back and say, oh, okay, I paid the $200 or the $210. I really should have just gotten it. So I'm telling you right now, just go ahead and get the Memory Maker. It is useful. Just get it.
Tip number 9, don't overplan. Yes, this is a podcast helping you plan your next Disney World vacation or Disneyland vacation. And if you found this podcast, it's like you are a planner, much like my wife here. But trying to stick to a rigid plan doesn't usually work out, and to schedule a few different plans in the park is almost essential, because you never know when a ride breaks down or at a certain attraction, even if or a restaurant, you could make it to your reservation, but then realize they're backed up, so you're going to be waiting for
or you're waiting
an extended
forever for a
period of
character
time
to show up.
Or say, you haven't say you're stuck in line at a ride and you have a reservation. This happened to us specifically. We were in little aside, but Disneyland.
We were at Radiator Racers.
Radiator Racers in line, and we had a reservation 10 minutes from there. We did not realize the line was going to take that long to get through.
Yeah, I think the line was, something was wrong with it.
Yeah.
Because we were in the line for a lot longer than we've probably ever waited in line.
And that was with a lightning lane. Mm-hmm. So it's just crazy that we sat in line for 30 plus minutes. But yeah, that was crazy. So expect the unexpected. Have a list of must-dos and flexible options. Be willing to change plans when you are sunburned or tired. Everyone wants to take a break in the pool, as we've discussed before. Or you can have morning plans to...
Yeah, like we said before, just try to have a semi-set morning plan. We're going to do this. We're going to go here. We're going to get there at this time. But then after that morning plan, after the crowds have kind of enveloped the parks, just be more flexible at that point. When we first started going to Disney World, I was so big about, at 10:05, we're going to be here. And then we're going to take a bathroom break. And then at 11:10, we're going to be here. And you could tell those days where I was very rigid, no one was having a good time.
No.
It was, oh my gosh, Kirsten, you're pushing us here, you're pushing us there. And we've learned now that, yeah, we're pretty rigid still in the morning. We know what we want to hit to maximize our time. And then around that 10 o'clock hour, it's much flexible. Okay, we know we want to hit Buzz this afternoon, or we want to, try to get on Tiana's. It's less we have to, and more, okay, before we leave today, we really want to try to get on these rides. We love these rides, or we want to check this snack out. And it just makes things more flexible, and that's important. It's a vacation. I used to always say, we're going on a trip, not a vacation. We're not going to relax, but it is a vacation. You want to try to relax and have fun on your vacation. So speaking of that, number 10 is finding the magic. So yes, Disney World is known for its amazing rides, but if you are only focused on rides, you're missing out on most of the magic of Disney World. For instance, in Epcot, you can enjoy DuckTales or KidCot or the aquarium in the Seas Pavilion. You can go play Bounty Hunters in Galaxy's Edge, or check out the gorillas or tigers in Animal Kingdom. Take a load off in Pinocchio's Village House and wave to everyone on the It's a Small World ride. Go take a ride on the monorail or the Skyliner. There's so much more to Disney World than just rides. And if you are just focused on rides, you're missing out on most of what makes Disney World magical. Disney World has this magic that's really hard to put into words. The cast members are amazing. There's just so much around you that if you're so much focused on, I've got to get to this ride, you're missing out on so much of it. So just stop, take a breather. You're in Disney World, and try to find that magic.
The characters that walk around both parks, actually, and on the cruise lines, they never, ever go out of character.
Yeah.
They go off script a lot, but they will never be out of character whatsoever from our experience.
And if you're
it's
just
very immersive.
trying to get from point A to point B because you've got a lightning lane, you can miss them. Like, especially in Disneyland. I know this podcast is about Disney World, but they just walk around and interact with people. And if you're just like, oh, gotta go here, like you're just gonna miss that. And that's what Disney is all about.
One we got super lucky on was, and I think we mentioned it in an earlier podcast, but Moana was just walking by Mickey's town or whatever it's called. Toontown, yeah. Moana was just walking by Toontown out of nowhere, and she was about to go behind the gate that was employee only. Princess only, yeah, whatever. And then there was just a group of people hounding her, trying to get a picture with her and an autograph and stuff like that. And we practically had to run right next to her to finally stop her and get a picture and stuff like that. But that is probably one of the rarest characters that I've seen from videos and stuff like that.
Yeah, that is the true essence of Disneyland. You just kind of have to like run with the characters.
Yeah.
Hello, hi, take a picture.
They will not stop.
They're just there to chill. So
yeah, we partially mentioned this already, but we would be remiss if we did not bring it up again. Understand the Disney World app, the My Disney Experience app, before your trip. Yes, understand how reservations work, understand how lightning lanes work, understand that there's this, I want to call it a mini game, but you can play it as a mini game with yourself, I guess, is the Disney slot machine.
The Play Disney?
What
are you talking about?
Where you pull down the screen and refresh the screen.
Yeah, when you're doing lightning lanes.
Yeah. Anyways, we'll probably cut that part out. But anyways, it's how you make dining reservations, mobile orders, secure lightning lanes, and the map feature is out of this world, helpful with finding restrooms, water refill stations. Restrooms especially are just kind of hidden away. Really, really hard to find.
You find the most like ones that are everywhere, but that's where everyone's going. So, to find those nice hidden ones, gotta kind of use the map a little bit.
Was it Animal Kingdom Morocco? Is that where we were? And it was like the I don't know. Anyways, I don't know where I was going with that. Got to check the map for water refill stations. You can't really live track down characters, but you can see where they usually show up.
And it'll give you times where they approximately will be there. We really wanted to make this one tip, like it's the ultimate tip. Just if you don't listen to anything else we say, just get on the app. This does require a lot of getting in and figuring it out, but you do want to have someone there that is kind of showing you the app. It can be a little overwhelming if you're not really techie or intuitive with that kind of stuff. I do think the next time we plan our Disney World trip, I might hop on YouTube and just show you my screen and walk you through the app and what that looks like, because it's not really something you can translate to a podcast where you're just listening to us talk. You really need to see the app and what it looks like.
For me, it's the menus. I always get confused on what menu I'm on or going between menus and stuff like that. Going from my plans versus the map to...
Oh, I thought you meant menus for restaurants. I was like, how do you not?
Yes, I always get lost in the restaurant menus. Can't ever figure out what I want to eat.
Okay, I'm with you now. The menus, okay.
But yeah, especially rides. There's live tracking of, how long the expected wait times are. And that can be a really big thing if you're needing to change plans, or, the app itself will report when a ride is down. So you don't have to rush over to a ride that you really wanted to ride. And then all of a sudden,
Sorry.
you're out of luck.
Yeah.
And there you have it, folks. 10 tips for your Disney World vacation with one bonus mega tip. We hope you found this podcast helpful when planning your next vacation. If you did, please make sure to subscribe to our channel so that way you are notified when next week's podcast releases. Until next time, I'm Kirsten.
And this is Chad.
Happy travels from all your ports to palaces.